Welcome back to Buff Recap. Today we will continue with the second season of C. Spoilers alert. Baba Voss was on his journey to rescue his daughter, Haniwa. On the way, he and Kofun encounter soldiers from Travantian City under the command of Edo Voss. Baba Voss and Kofun fight the soldiers, killing them all. During the battle, Kofun struggles to finish off one soldier, prompting Baba Voss to guide him by taking his hand and showing him how to strike the final blow. Meanwhile, Haniwa is shown chained in captivity. Edo Voss, the Travantian general, is seen discussing with Ren, a loyal soldier of his. Ren expresses concern, saying that if the ranger finds out that they've imprisoned a girl who can see, he'll kill them both. Edo Voss reassures her. As they continue their conversation, Haniwa interrupts, demanding answers to why they have kept her up. Edo Voss approaches her, gripping her throat tightly, and warns her that his name is Edo Voss, and he is the general. He then warns her to speak only when she is told to, whereas after defeating the soldiers, Baba Voss collects their weapons and orders Kofun and Paris to stay behind while he ventures further on his own. Later, Edo Voss arrives at the scene, surveying the dead soldiers. He quickly realizes that Baba Voss has been there. Baba Voss disguises himself in the armor of the fallen soldiers to infiltrate the Travantian city unnoticed. Meanwhile, Ren and Haniwa engage in a tense conversation. During this exchange, it is revealed that Edo Voss is actually Baba Voss's brother. Edo is hunting Baba Voss to punish him for the murder of their father. To lure Baba Voss out, Edo has taken Haniwa captive. Haniwa, sensing a chance, tells Ren that her father will find her very soon. Ren responds with cold certainty that even if his father makes it to the city, he won't leave alive, as this is Edo's city. Suspicious of Ren's loyalty, Haniwa suddenly throws an apple at her. Ren catches it effortlessly, revealing that she can see. Ren then confesses to Haniwa that her family is the only one in this entire city who can see, but she is not Yerla Morel's daughter. She adds that if the people here discover that she can see, they'll kill her. Haniwa smirks and threatens her to tell General Edo that she can see. In response, Ren swiftly draws a knife and presses it against Haniwa's throat, warning her that the general will trust his loyal soldier over a prisoner who's desperate to escape. Ren's voice turns cold as she continues, saying that if she wants to kill her, she can do it right now and then lie to General that she was trying to escape. As Ren and Haniwa's argument escalates, the scene shifts to Queen Caine and Magra entering the city of Payan. Magra confronts Queen Caine, saying that she promised that she would find her family. Queen Caine replies with frustration that they have already wasted their 30 days in search of the family. Now, they need to rebuild their kingdom first. The focus now shifts to the city, where Lord Harlan greets Queen Caine and Magra upon their arrival. Lord Harlan, along with Queen Caine, discusses the plan to make Pensa the new capital of the Payan kingdom. Kerrigan, Lord Harlan's younger brother, expresses his disapproval of Harlan cooperating with Queen Caine. Harlan tries to calm him down, explaining that working with the Queen is in everyone's best interest and the only way to survive. Meanwhile, Baba Voss has successfully entered the Travantian city in disguise. He meets with an old friend, explaining his desperate mission to rescue his daughter, Haniwa. Baba Voss's friend feels he will never make it to her, and even if he did manage to find her, then Edo Voss will burn him alive. The friend then provides Baba Voss with a critical piece of information, whispering that there is a hidden base where Edo Voss might be keeping his daughter. Back in Pensa, Lord Harlan introduces Captain Gossett, the chief military officer of the city, to Queen Caine and Magra. Captain Gossett thinks that if they know more about their enemies, they can build their army more effectively. However, Queen Caine doesn't want to reveal who attacked the capital. Determined to find her family, Magra approaches Captain Gossett and requests a small group of soldiers for the search. Gossett agrees, and Magra leaves with him to meet the soldiers. Lord Harlan meets privately with his brother Kerrigan and confides that there's something off between Queen Caine and Magra. Meanwhile, Paris and Kofun are anxiously waiting for Baba Voss. Suddenly, a group of soldiers arrives to take them. Paris, using her gift of touch, senses that the soldier is telling the truth. Reluctantly, Kofun is taken away, though Paris stays behind, determined to wait for Baba Voss. Whereas Ren enters Haniwa's room but is alarmed to find it empty. Just as she reaches for her weapon, Haniwa ambushes her from behind, pressing a blade against her neck. A fierce fight ensues between the two. Haniwa gains the upper hand and is on the verge of killing Ren, but ultimately spares her life, letting her go. On the other hand, Queen Caine announces that Pensa will be the new capital of the Payan kingdom. She proclaims a divine prophecy that the son she carries will have the gift of sight, and from now on, those with the ability to see will no longer be labeled as witches. They will live as equals. She then shifts her tone, declaring vengeance against the Trivantian soldiers, whereas Baba Voss meets with his old friend, who shows him a shortcut to Edo Voss's stronghold. Following the guidance, Baba Voss dives into the dark tunnel, navigating cautiously through its narrow passages. Eventually, he encounters a man along the way and hands him some coins. In exchange, the man directs Baba Voss toward the coal furnace at the far end. Baba Voss crawls through the hot, dangerous furnace and emerges on the other side, only to realize he has been betrayed. The man had sold him out. Baba Voss fights off the attackers but is eventually overpowered by Edo Voss's soldiers. They bind his hands and string him up, leaving him dangling helplessly. Soon, Edo Voss arrives, coldly staring at his brother. Baba Voss pleads to let Haniwa go. Edo sneers that he once begged him the same way. Baba Voss, filled with regret, apologies. Edo storms away, leaving the soldiers behind to torture Baba Voss. The camera lingers as the soldiers begin their brutal torment, heightening the tension, whereas Gerla Morel is undergoing treatment to restore his sight. However, when the bandages are removed, he remains blind. Panicking, Gerla Morel asks his eldest son to read medical books to find a cure. His son gently tells him that he will never see again. Hearing this, Gerla Morel angrily pushes his son away. Meanwhile, Ren takes Haniwa on a tour of the Trivantian city, eventually leading her to an old ruin. They climb up to a room, which turns out to be beautifully decorated. The room has a large window that overlooks the entire city. Elsewhere, Baba Voss is being relentlessly tortured. Edo Voss arrives and orders his men to stop. Approaching Baba's wounds, Edo remarks that the scars on his body are nothing compared to the ones on my back. Baba, weakened but determined, asks about his daughter's whereabouts. Edo sneers that she'll suffer far worse than what he endured. Baba Voss, overwhelmed with regret, pleads with his brother and apologizes to him. Edo walks away. He commands his men to keep Baba conscious and torture him. Kofun is being escorted to Queen Caine by her new witchfinder. Along the way, Kofun attempts to escape, but the witchfinder warns him that if he runs, the people will see him as a witch and kill him. So if he wants to live, he must stay. Queen Caine and Princess Magra attended a tense council meeting. Queen Caine turned to Captain Gossett, the chief military officer, and demanded that they convene the War Council. The chief officer responded that by protocol, the War Council was only summoned after a declaration of war. Frustrated, Queen Caine retorted that she didn't need a lesson in protocol, insisting they had been challenged for war, which posed a grave threat to them. The chief commander replied cautiously, explaining that if they were to fight the Trivantian army, they needed to secure their kingdom first. Queen Caine, defiant as ever, declared that God had chosen them to defeat the enemy and insisted they should focus on attacking, not defending. Magra, however, interjected firmly, reminding them that since the fall of the Kinzua Dam, Payan had grown weaker and that they must first strengthen their kingdom before making any rash decisions about war. Queen Caine angrily orders everyone to leave the council meeting room and then turns to Magra. She accuses her of siding with the others, saying the politicians are behaving like traitors and even the chief commander dared to argue with her. She expresses frustration, pointing out that even her sister supported them. Magra calmly responds, telling her that going to war is equivalent to walking toward death. She questions how many lives Caine is willing to sacrifice for her lies. Caine replies that if people die for the glory of Payan, it is a good thing. Magra, shocked, asks how Caine can even imagine defeating the Trivantians. She warns that they will destroy everything, including the prophecy Caine is so reliant upon. At this, Queen Caine reminds Magra that she came to kill her with Tamakti Jun, yet Caine spared her life out of greatness. With that, she storms out of the room. Unknown to them, Lord Harlan has been eavesdropping on their conversation. Elsewhere, Ren takes Haniwa to a room where she picks up a pendant studded with diamonds. She asks Haniwa to read the word inscribed on it. Haniwa looks at it and explains that the word says forever, meaning eternal, but adds that what it represents didn't last. Ren suggests that perhaps it represents the feeling of being together. Hearing this, Haniwa kisses Ren impulsively, but immediately apologizes. Ren, however, kisses her back, and the two lose themselves in the moment. Meanwhile, Edo Voss is seen attending a meeting with the Trivantian Council. A council member informs him about Queen Caine and her prophecy, revealing that she has lied to her people by claiming the Trivantians attacked their capital. Edo, in response, describes the abilities of the cited individuals. The council speaks of past destruction and instructs Edo and his army to remain stationed at the eastern border. Edo, however, insists that they should attack Payan with his forces. Back in the prison, Baba Voss is thrown into a cell by Edo's soldiers. There, he encounters Tamakti Jun, who reveals that Magra is alive and currently with Queen Caine. He warns Baba not to trust Caine, even though Magra is the princess. He shares his own experience, recalling how Caine left him to die. Tamakti offers to help Baba reach Magra if they manage to escape. Baba Voss, overcome with anger, shouts at him. At the same time, Lord Harlan visits Queen Caine and tries to manipulate her. He even proposes marriage, but Caine rejects his offer. Instead, she suggests he propose to Magra, assuring him of her support in convincing Magra to accept. Later, Ren is seen taking Haniwa back to her cell. She assures Haniwa that she will protect her at any cost. Before they can say more, Edo Voss arrives and orders Ren to bring Haniwa outside. As Ren escorts Haniwa out, Haniwa notices Baba Voss locked in a cage. Edo approaches Baba and tells him he is giving him one last chance to say goodbye to his daughter. Edo then orders his soldiers to parade Baba Voss in the cage across the city. Meanwhile, Queen Caine, while strolling with Magra, subtly suggests she marry Lord Harlan. Magra refuses outright, but Caine tries to convince her, arguing that their enemies are growing bolder and the marriage is the only way to secure peace. Magra retorts by asking why Caine doesn't marry Harlan herself. Caine smugly replies that if she married him, he would become king. Now we see Ren sneaking into the area where Baba Voss is being held. After killing the guards, she approaches Baba Voss and frees him, introducing herself in the process. Tamakti Jun, also imprisoned nearby, pleads with Ren to set him free. Initially, Ren refuses, but Baba Voss insists, mentioning that Magra would want him released. Reluctantly, Ren agrees, and the three of them grab weapons from the fallen soldiers and begin their escape. Meanwhile, Edo Voss orders one of his men to attack Haniwa. On the other side, Baba Voss, Tamakti Jun, and Ren fight through Edo's soldiers as they move forward. At one point, they decide to split up to search for Haniwa. At the same time, Edo's man is about to assault Haniwa when Ren arrives just in time and knocks him out. Haniwa, overwhelmed with relief, hugs Ren and tells her that she knew Ren would save her. Ren then hands Haniwa a bow and arrow, saying that Baba Voss wanted her to have it. Further ahead, Baba Voss confronts Edo Voss. Edo starts beating Baba mercilessly and in the final moments pulls out their father's sword, ready to kill Baba. Just then, Haniwa arrives and shoots Edo with an arrow, stopping him. Baba Voss and Haniwa start to leave together, but Edo sounds a horn, activating all his soldiers. In another part of the escape, Haniwa encounters Tamakti Jun and nearly kills him, but Baba Voss intervenes, stopping her. The group then fights their way through Edo's soldiers, working as a team. As they reach the gates, Ren gives Haniwa a pendant and bids her farewell. Ren then drops the gate's shutter to block Edo's soldiers, allowing the others to escape while she stays behind to hold them off. Meanwhile, we see Boots arriving at Queen Caine's quarters. He finds her murdering one of her maids in a fit of rage. It is revealed that Queen Caine has suffered a miscarriage. Caine explains that the maid dared to say that weak babies sometimes don't survive, so she silenced her forever. Queen Caine then confronts Boots, asking him what he had given her. Boots responds that he gave her exactly what she had requested. Furious, Caine accuses him, saying, "I've told everyone that my child would be gifted with sight. What am I supposed to tell them now? They'll think I'm insane." Boots, in an attempt to appease her, offers to try again. But Caine, in a fit of uncontrollable anger, pulls out a hidden dagger and kills Boots. Whereas Edo Voss is advised by the council members to set aside his rivalry with Baba Voss and focus on his kingdom. Meanwhile, we see Yerla Morel, anxious and fearful after losing his eyesight. His eldest son, Olaman, tells him that no matter what he does, he will never see again. Yerla Morel warns him to keep his blindness a secret from the Trivantians, as it could bring serious trouble for them. On the other side, Baba Voss, Haniwa, and Tamakti Jun arrive at the place where Baba Voss had left Paris and Kofun, but finding them gone, Baba Voss grows concerned. Tamakti Jun investigates and reveals that the Queen's new witchfinder took them away. Moving forward, Haniwa finds a message from Kofun saying they have gone to Pensa. Tamakti Jun suggests that Queen Caine might have made Pensa her new capital after the destruction of Kinzua Dam. Next, we see Lord Harlan present a man to Queen Caine. The man reveals the truth about the Kinzua Dam's destruction, exposing Caine's lies. In response, Harlan slits the man's throat and cuts off his tongue, placing it in front of the queen. Harlan warns her that if such rumors are not suppressed, they will spread quickly among the people. Caine asks if he can stop it, and Harlan reminds her that if the truth comes out, it will endanger her sister and the unborn child. Caine, avoiding the conversation, assures him that he will soon marry her sister, Magra. The queen then meets Magra, telling her that the witchfinder has found her son Kofun, but not her husband or daughter. When Magra asks about Caine's baby, the queen remains silent. Magra realizes that Caine has lost her child, and the two share a brief moment of grief. After a while, Caine warns Magra that if news of her child's return spreads, it could put the child's life in danger. Magra asks if this is a threat. Caine reveals that some survivors from Kinzua are still alive, and if Magra doesn't marry Lord Harlan, they will expose the truth, turning people against them. After some thought, Magra reluctantly agrees to go along with the plan. Meanwhile, Baba Voss, Haniwa, and Tamakti Jun reach a slaver's camp. When the slavers attempt to attack them, Tamakti Jun distracts them with clever words. However, when the slavers realize a girl is traveling with them, they demand they leave Haniwa behind. This sparks a fierce fight. During the battle, the slavers capture Haniwa, but suddenly a group of women arrives and kills the slavers one by one. When Baba Voss asks who they are, Paris appears and tells him to rest. She explains that the witchfinder took Kofun to Pensa, prompting Baba Voss to prepare for the journey there. However, the women refuse to let Tamakti Jun accompany them. Baba Voss insists that Tamakti will go with them wherever they go. Paris introduces the women, explaining that they protect those with sight, and reveals that she was once one of them. Meanwhile, we see the witchfinder talking to Dax, suggesting that they should kill Kofun. Dax warns that if Queen Caine finds out, it will not end well for them. Kofun overhears their conversation from a distance. The scene shifted to Magra, who was practicing with her royal weapon. Lord Harlan arrived and attempted to engage her in conversation. Magra, not one to mince words, asked him bluntly what he hoped to gain by marrying her. Harlan explained that his family had served the royal house for generations and that he had worked hard to achieve something meaningful. However, with Queen Caine undermining everything, he felt cornered and saw only two options: either stir up the people to overthrow the palace or marry Magra and become part of the royal establishment. After much deliberation, he had concluded that marrying her was the better choice. Magra told him that if he sought power, he was looking in the wrong place and should align with the queen instead. Harlan, however, insisted that, given the current situation, she was the right choice for him. Eventually, Magra agreed to his proposal. She told him they would announce their engagement soon, and in return, he would pressure the council to stop the queen from pursuing war. She added that once her daughter and husband returned, he would ensure their safety. In exchange, she promised that he would get everything he desired. Meanwhile, Kofun was attacked in his sleep by Witchfinder's men. Reluctantly, Dax intervened to protect him, knowing that if anything happened to Kofun, the queen's wrath would be severe. Later, Haniwa confronted Baba Voss, asking why he hadn't killed Edo Voss when he had the chance. Baba Voss admitted that killing one's own brother was not easy. He explained that their father had ordered him to kill Edo, but he had chosen to do what he thought was right. When Haniwa asked why Edo was still his enemy, Baba Voss explained that family relationships were complicated. His father had hated Edo because their mother had died giving birth to him. Elsewhere, Edo Voss summoned Ren and instructed her to spread the word that he wanted Baba Voss and the girl captured alive. Without consulting Magra or Harlan, Queen Caine publicly announced their engagement and upcoming marriage. Furious, Magra confronted Harlan, telling him that she no longer trusted him. Harlan, however, remained calm and told her that she would have to trust him sooner or later. Meanwhile, Yerlamarel's son informed him that Edo Voss had come to visit. Yerlamarel warned his son not to let Edo find out that he had lost his sight. When Edo arrived, he demanded to know how Baba Voss had managed to escape from their prison without sight. Yerlamarel denied any involvement in the escape. Edo then inquired about Kofun, asking where the boy was the one Yerlamarel had refused to send with him. Yerlamarel explained that because of Edo's actions, Baba Voss had come and taken his son. Suspicious, Edo questioned how Baba Voss could have come to Yerlamarel's home and left him alive, given what Yerlamarel had done to Baba Voss's daughter. To confirm his suspicions, Edo inspected Yerlamarel's eyes and discovered the truth. Yerlamarel was blind. Enraged, Edo beheaded him on the spot. Yerlamarel's son, Oloman, cried out in horror. Edo silenced him, declaring that the house, the books, and everything within it now belonged to him. He warned Oloman that if he wanted to protect what remained of his family, he would have to serve him. Edo then introduced Oloman to one of his men, Tormata, and ordered Oloman to begin working under him. On the other hand, Pensa is preparing for Magra's wedding. Queen Caine tells Magra that the people of Pensa need to believe that the marriage is genuine. Magra reassures her, saying that there's no need to worry. She will handle everything properly. Queen Caine continues, stressing the importance of the marriage, saying that when Magra's children are brought to Pensa, the marriage will be beneficial for them as well. The marriage will ensure their safety. Meanwhile, Baba Voss is seen traveling towards Pensa with Tamakti Jun, Paris, Haniwa, and the girls. Suddenly, Baba Voss falls ill. On the other side, Edo Voss approaches a lady and tells her that the one responsible for the deaths of the Trivantian people will have to pay for it. Ren overhears and listens in silence, her face showing fear. The scene shifts to Kofun, who has arrived in Pensa with Queen Caine's men. Upon hearing about his mother Magra's wedding, Kofun is taken aback and rushes to find her. When Magra sees him, she embraces him. Kofun asks about the marriage, and Magra assures him that she will explain everything later. She then asks Kofun about Baba Voss and Haniwa. Kofun tells her that Baba Voss and Haniwa went to Trivantian to bring Haniwa back. While they are talking, Magra is called to the wedding ceremony. She tells Kofun that he has to trust her, explaining that if his father were here, he would have trusted her too. Kofun, however, refuses to accept the marriage, stating that his father would never accept his wife marrying someone else. Magra explains that the situation has changed, but she is still his mother, and he is still her son. She is doing this for their collective good. After this conversation, Magra leaves for the ceremony, telling Kofun to stay in the room. Meanwhile, Baba Voss, whose health is deteriorating, mentions that they should head to a nearby tribe. Tamakti Jun stays behind, explaining that he cannot accompany them since he had attacked the village while searching for Yerlamarel's children. Baba Voss and the others leave Tamakti Jun behind and head towards the tribe. Despite Magra's refusal, Kofun decides to attend the wedding. He witnesses his mother marry Lord Harlan. When Magra realizes that Kofun is there, she feels his presence, but sees him leave disheartened after the ceremony. Kofun returns to his room. At the tribe, Baba Voss arrives and is asked to introduce himself. Just then, Beau Lion, Shadow, arrives and runs to hug Paris. Meanwhile, Queen Caine approaches Kofun, hugs him, and begins talking to him. She tells him that as long as he is in her kingdom, no one can harm him. She then kisses Kofun on the lips, revealing her sinister intentions. Edo Voss confronted a council member, demanding that he persuade the council to attack Payan. The member retorted, asserting that Edo was overestimating his influence. He agreed to attempt to convince the council to hold a diplomatic conference with the Payan residents, but left Edo fuming. Before departing, he warned Edo that he would only do as instructed and promised to inform him of the council's decision. In a separate scene, Magra enters her room to find Lord Harlan lying naked on her bed. She coldly informed him that their marriage was merely a facade, a convenient arrangement. Harlan quickly dressed, his demeanor shifting to one of compliance. Meanwhile, Baba Voss held a meeting with Paris and Haniwa, discussing strategies with the tribe members. Tamakti Jun sat alone, tormented by the memories of his past sins. The haunting cries of those he had killed echoed in his mind. Disturbed by these thoughts, he entered the meeting room where Baba Voss was with the tribe. But as he began to speak, Haniwa discreetly signaled Baba Voss about his presence. Baba Voss quickly stood and, without alerting anyone, pulled Tamakti Jun out of the room. Once outside, Baba Voss pushed Tamakti Jun to the ground, hovering over him as he demanded to know why he had entered. Tamakti Jun replied that the tribe deserved to take their vengeance on him for his actions. Baba Voss replied, his voice filled with restrained fury, that while he felt the urge to kill Tamakti Jun for his crimes against his people, he would instead allow him to live, forcing him to endure the consequences of his actions. With that, Baba Voss left him there, but Bo Lion overheard their conversation and moved to confront Tamakti Jun. However, Paris intervened, stopping her from taking violent action. Lord Harlan, at Magra's request, went to speak with his brother to search for Baba Voss and Haniwa. Magra then approached Kofun, informing him of her intent to seek out Baba Voss and Haniwa with Harlan's help. Kofun responded sarcastically, expressing doubt that her new husband would be as eager to find her old husband as they were. Later, Tamakti Jun spoke with Paris, admitting that he had killed as many people as she had taken breaths that day. He expressed regret for his past actions. Paris encouraged him to shift his focus from fighting for darkness to fighting for the light. The scene shifted as Baba Voss and his group set off towards Pensa, determined to confront the challenges ahead. In a tense meeting called by Queen Caine, she gathered crucial details about her soldiers from Captain Gossett in preparation for the impending war against the Travantian army. As the discussion unfolded, Lord Harlan discreetly informed Magra that the Travantians had reached out, seeking a meeting to negotiate. Magra confronted Queen Caine, questioning why she hadn't mentioned the Travantians' request for negotiation. The Queen dismissed the notion, asserting that there was no advantage in speaking to the Travantians. Magra countered that the people needed to believe their queen was making every effort to avert war. Queen Caine insisted that everyone would follow her commands. Undeterred, Magra argued that if Queen Caine could achieve victory over the Travantians without bloodshed, even those who hated her would come to respect her. After a moment of contemplation, the queen explained that the Travantians lacked a king or queen, and as a queen herself, she could not negotiate with a common leader. Magra suggested that if the queen was hesitant due to that reason, she could act as her envoy and negotiate on her behalf. With Queen Caine's reluctant approval, Magra embraced her and prepared to leave. However, the queen warned her that any negotiation would only take place if the Travantians apologized for their attack on Kinzua. Upon hearing this, Magra replied that the queen knew very well the Travantians would never agree to that. Queen Caine maintained that for them to win the battle without fighting, an apology was necessary to end the conflict. Meanwhile, Kofun approached the queen's formidable soldier, Toad, expressing his desire to practice together. Toad retorted that he only fought soldiers, demonstrating his point by striking Kofun's sword and sending it flying. Kofun quickly retrieved his weapon and attempted to attack, but Toad swiftly placed his blade at Kofun's throat, telling him to leave. Kofun insisted that he wanted to learn how to wield a weapon and declared Toad his mentor, sharing his regrets about not saving his sister or helping his father. Toad ultimately agreed to take Kofun on as his apprentice. Elsewhere, Edo Voss spoke with Ren, instructing her to meet with the Payan people in his stead. At the same time, Baba Voss entered Payan City with his followers. Tamakti Jun cautioned him to remain hidden, stating that in the queen's eyes, he was dead. He planned to gather his comrades first to prepare for any confrontation with the queen. After bidding farewell to Tamakti Jun, Baba Voss made his way toward the palace. When guards outside the palace attempted to prevent him from entering, he overpowered them decisively. Entering the palace, he called out for Magra. Hearing her father's voice, Magra rushed down and ordered her soldiers to cease fighting, leading to an emotional family reunion as they embraced one another. Just then, Lord Harlan arrived and introduced himself to Baba Voss, revealing his true identity. Baba Voss responded firmly, telling Harlan to keep his mouth shut. At that moment, Queen Caine entered and introduced herself to Baba Voss. The scene shifted to a dinner where everyone gathered together. During the meal, Queen Caine revealed Baba Voss's true connection to the Travantians, stirring tension at the table. Following this revelation, Lord Harlan mocked Baba Voss, who told him to be quiet. Now we see Queen Caine enjoying herself. She remarks to everyone that there was a time when Magra had said she would never marry, and now she sits at the table with her two husbands. Hearing this, Baba Voss becomes extremely angry, but he remains silent for Magra's sake. Next, we see Tamakti-jun approach Toad. Toad, upon hearing Tamakti-jun's voice, questions how he is alive when the queen claims he has committed suicide. Tamakti-jun replies that the queen has always had trouble telling the truth. Toad then asks what their next move should be, and Tamakti-jun instructs him to follow him. We shift back to Baba Voss, who is sitting with Magra. He suggests that they should once again retreat to the mountains with their children, where they were happy before and could be happy again. Magra responds, sharing that her father had told her to protect his people from her sister's madness, but she failed to do so, resulting in many lost lives. She believes she is the only one capable of challenging her sister for the throne. Baba Voss tells Magra that being a princess is not enough. She must truly become a queen. Magra replies that she will do so until there is peace, after which she plans to hand the kingdom over to Lord Harlan. Magra explains to Baba Voss that if they flee now, Haniwa and Kofun will never be safe. Now we see Tamakti-jun, who with Toad's help calls Magra and Baba Voss to his camp. There, Tamakti-jun informs Magra that it will require a large army to subdue her sister. As long as her sister remains on the throne, efforts for peace with the Trivantians will be in vain. Magra urges him to gather her soldiers, telling him not to worry about the law. She insists that she has many plans to easily remove the queen from the throne. Meanwhile, Lord Harlan receives a message from one of his soldiers regarding the Trivantians. The message reveals that they have sent him his brother's severed head as a gift. On the other side, Queen Caine manipulates Kofun, seemingly succeeding in her sinister intentions. Paris wakes up screaming from a terrifying nightmare. When Haniwa hears Paris's cries and wakes her up, Paris shares her dream, warning her that their mother and Baba Voss should not go to the meeting with the Trivantians. She describes blood and betrayal in her vision. Haniwa informs her that they have already left for the meeting. Determined, Haniwa leaves Paris behind to tell her mother and father. Meanwhile, we see Edo Voss sending Ren as his envoy to the conference, giving her a food packet to take along. Next, we find Magra preparing to attend the meeting with Lord Harlan and Baba Voss, accompanied by a troop of soldiers. On the same path, Haniwa is moving forward, whereas Toad, who is training Kofun. However, Kofun keeps losing to Toad. Afterwards, Toad blindfolds Kofun, instructing him to fight. But Kofun struggles and gets injured, prompting Toad to halt the training for the day. At the meeting location, representatives from both states have arrived. The captains agree that anyone entering the camp must leave their weapons outside. One by one, people are checked before entering. Just then, Haniwa arrives and shares Paris's warning with Baba Voss and Magra. Magra explains that if they leave the meeting now, the Trivantians could attack their kingdom without any hindrance, resulting in the loss of many innocent lives. Baba Voss supports Magra's decision. Meanwhile, Kofun is preparing his horse when Queen Caine approaches him and asks to ride with him. We see them growing closer as they ride together. Inside the camp, the meeting begins. After some discussions, Magra asserts that the agreement will only succeed if the Trivantians officially apologize for the attack on Kinzua. The Trivantian commander responds that they will not apologize for a mistake they did not make, leading to a heated debate. In the midst of this argument, the Trivantian commander mentions Lord Harlan's brother's severed head, which provokes Harlan to retaliate. The meeting is abruptly halted, and everyone returns to their camps. Once at the camp, Lord Harlan informs Magra and Baba Voss that the meeting is not completely over. He has arranged for Magra to meet with the Trivantians' ambassador. This leads to an argument between Baba Voss and Harlan, in which Magra intervenes. She firmly tells Harlan that from now on, he will not arrange any meetings without her approval. When Ren opened her food packet and found a small knife inside, as she heads outside with it, she encounters Haniwa. They ascend to the rooftop to talk. Here, they promise each other that they will not fight against one another no matter what happens. Haniwa kisses Ren. Meanwhile, Queen Caine shares a meal with Kofun, getting quite close to him as they bond. The next morning, Magra meets with the Trivantians' ambassador, who expresses their willingness to officially apologize to the queen, leading to a successful peace agreement. Back to Ren and Haniwa, where Ren lays her head on Haniwa's shoulder, stating that this entire agreement is built on lies and cannot last long. Haniwa counters that there might be some truth hidden within those lies. As they grow closer, we shift to a night scene where a group of people stealthily attacks the guards while everyone is asleep. Baba Voss wakes up to the commotion. one member of the group begins killing the Trivantians. Baba Voss rushes to confront him, but the attacker escapes his grasp. Baba Voss shouts to alert everyone. At the sound of his voice, Ren and Haniwa wake up and rush toward him. Meanwhile, one member of the group kills the Trivantian captain, while another assassinates the Trivantian's ambassador. As Baba Voss arrived, he began inspecting the Trivantian ambassador. At that moment, Haniwa and Ren reached the scene. Upon seeing Baba Voss with the ambassador, Ren misinterpreted the situation, believing that Baba Voss had killed him. In a fit of anger, Ren seized Haniwa, shoving her down and holding a knife to her throat. Accusing her, she shouted that Haniwa had known all along about the impending danger. Haniwa, trying to defend herself, insisted she had no prior knowledge. Ren retorted that Haniwa knew she could have stopped them alone and accused her of deliberately bringing her up to use her. With those words, Ren walked away in tears. Witnessing Haniwa's distress, Baba Voss stepped forward to comfort her with an embrace. Meanwhile, Magra examined the hand of one of the attackers Baba Voss had killed and discovered that he was from Payan. This revelation made it clear to everyone present that Queen Caine had never intended for the peace agreement to succeed. On another front, Queen Caine approached Kofun, her malicious intentions apparent in her demeanor. In the following scene, Queen Caine was seen eating when Magra stormed in, her fury evident as she angrily threw the plate of food away. Meanwhile, Ren was speaking with Edo Voss, informing him that Baba Voss had led the attackers responsible for killing their men. Edo Voss, incredulous, reacted with disbelief, questioning how this could be possible since all his men were dead and yet she had survived. Pressing her for details, Ren explained that she had survived because she could see. As she revealed this to Edo Voss, he stood stunned, struggling to process her words. During a council meeting attended by Queen Caine, Magra, Lord Harlan, Baba Voss, and all members of Pensa, Queen Caine addressed the council. She declared that, due to the failure of the peace agreement, they had no choice but to go to war. However, Magra interrupted her, asserting that there was still an important issue that needed discussion. She informed Queen Caine that the Witchfinder and his army would not fight for her. Queen Caine, exuding arrogance, proclaimed that it was her army and they would do as she commanded. Suddenly, Tamakti Jun stepped forward, asserting that the army belonged to him. Upon recognizing him, Queen Caine feigned delight at his presence, but Tamakti Jun cut her off, reprimanding her and exposing all her dark secrets to the council. In response to his accusations, Queen Caine ordered her army to arrest Tamakti Jun, but they remained motionless. Tamakti Jun then stated that they would not listen to her anymore, and the entire army shifted their allegiance to him. Seeing this unfold, Lord Harlan confronted Tamakti Jun, questioning how he could make such accusations. Magra supported Tamakti Jun, revealing Queen Caine's deceit. Rallying the crowd, Tamakti Jun declared that war was imminent and urged everyone to decide whether to follow the false queen or support a true queen. Furious at the growing dissent, Queen Caine commanded Captain Gossett to arrest the traitors. Lord Harlan stood up and announced that the army of Pensa now stood with Queen Magra. Hearing this, Queen Caine screamed in anger, prompting Lord Harlan to expose all her lies. As Tamakti Jun prepared to eliminate Queen Caine, Paris intervened, stating that Caine was pregnant and they could not punish her child for her mother's sins. Upon hearing this, Kofun realized that Caine had been manipulating him for this moment. Queen Magra ordered Tamakti Jun to place Caine under guard in her quarters. Suddenly, Queen Magra heard voices outside and inquired about the commotion. Tamakti Jun informed her that the Trivantian army was advancing toward them. Meanwhile, the Trivantian army was shown advancing, with Edo Voss leading Ren forward. Ren's ability to see allowed them to easily defeat any opposing forces in their path. In Pensa, a meeting took place between Queen Magra and Captain Gossett regarding the Trivantian threat. Captain Gossett warned Queen Magra that if they continued at this pace, the Trivantian army would reach Pensa in 4-5 days. Captain Gossett and Tamakti Jun began strategizing for war, but Lord Harlan cautioned them that Edo Voss had soldiers with vision. Upon hearing this, Haniwa and Kofun insisted on participating in the battle, but Magra and Baba Voss firmly refused them. Lord Harlan explained to Magra that the enemy army outnumbered them and was better trained. He asserted that if they were to win the fight, they needed to bring all their weapons to the field. Tension escalated as Baba Voss, Haniwa, and Kofun engaged in a heated argument, with Haniwa and Kofun insisting on fighting. Baba Voss firmly told Magra that they would not let their children go to war, no matter what happened. As the tension mounted, Magra glared at Baba Voss and expressed her frustration, stating that she couldn't stop their children even if she wanted to. This sparked a heated argument between them, during which Baba Voss, filled with anger, accused her that if their children died in the war, the blame would fall solely on her. Enraged by his words, Magra retaliated by slapping him across the face. In a surprising gesture, Baba Voss kissed her forehead and declared that he would fight alongside Haniwa and Kofun. Meanwhile, Edo Voss was seen secretly hiring a man to carry out an assassination, revealing the depths of his schemes. Back at the castle, Kofun confronted Queen Caine, pushing her away as he accused her of using him as a pawn. Caine attempted to manipulate him with her words again, but Kofun, now furious, climbed onto her, insisting that once her child was born, they would kill her, leaving her baby an orphan. Caine, unfazed, retorted that her child wouldn't be an orphan because their father was a prince. Kofun shot back defiantly that he was no father to that child. As preparations for battle intensified, Baba Voss donned his armor and selected his weapons, steeling himself for the fight ahead. Meanwhile, Queen Magra rallied her troops with a rousing speech, igniting their spirits for the impending conflict. Once her speech concluded, Captain Gossett sounded the horn, signaling the army to advance. Before heading into battle, Paris approached Baba Voss with an important message, her expression grave with concern. With a heavy heart, Queen Magra bid farewell to her children and Baba Voss as the army, led by Baba Voss, Kofun, and Haniwa, set off for the battlefield, determination etched on their faces. Meanwhile, Paris sought out Toad for assistance, hoping to rally more support. Later that night, as Magra slept, the man sent by Edo Voss crept into the castle with a companion, killing guards as they made their way inside. Magra stirred at the noise, and as the intruders climbed the stairs toward her chamber, she swiftly dispatched one of them with a dagger. However, the second assailant lunged at her with lethal intent, but just in time, Lord Harlan arrived, saving her life. In the ensuing struggle, the attacker brutally assaulted Lord Harlan before plunging a dagger into his abdomen. As the man turned back to Magra, she seized the opportunity, grabbing a dagger from the ground and striking him down. Rushing to Harlan's side, Magra gasped at the sight of his grave injuries, panic rising within her. Meanwhile, Tamakti Jun and his men reached the battleground where they faced the formidable Trivantian army. A comrade informed Baba Voss that the opposing side had a total of 350 soldiers. In the front lines, Edo Voss stood confidently with Ren, questioning her about their surroundings. Ren replied that she could see Baba Voss. Intent on stopping the war, Haniwa approached Baba Voss for permission to speak with Ren. Once granted, she rushed toward the Trivantian side. As she neared, Ren recognized her and moved to meet her halfway. Haniwa urgently insisted that Ren needed to go back because it was too late now, but Haniwa maintained that Ren must talk to Edo, explaining that Queen Magra didn't want war. She warned that if Ren didn't intervene, hundreds would die on both sides. Ren shook her head, sorrow in her eyes, and told Haniwa it was too late for that, and urged her to go back. In a bittersweet moment, Ren leaned in and kissed Haniwa before handing her shield over, encouraging her to take it as Haniwa turned and sprinted back toward her army, determination fueling her every step. As the Trivantian soldiers launched arrows toward the castle, Baba Voss, Haniwa, Kofun, and the Payan soldiers rushed inside, shutting the gate for safety. Outside, under Edo Voss's command, his vast army advanced toward the castle gate, the tension palpable as the sound of their heavy footsteps echoed through the valley. Meanwhile, Tamakti Jun rallied his soldiers, boosting their morale for the fight ahead. Ren approached Edo Voss, informing him that the Payan soldiers had barricaded themselves inside the castle. In response, Edo ordered his men to break down the gate, signaling impending chaos. The cacophony of wood splintering under force filled the air as the Trivantian soldiers attempted to breach the castle. Just then, Toad, Paris, and Bowlion arrived with a band of warriors, pledging their support to Baba Voss. One by one, the tribal leaders stood with him, ready to confront the Trivantian menace. Baba Voss addressed Tamakti Jun, stating that the 100 mountain warriors were equal to his double number of Witchfinder soldiers, boosting the morale of their collective force. Meanwhile, Queen Magra confronted her sister Caine in the castle, demanding to know whose child she carried. Caine smirked and revealed that the child was Cofun's. Enraged, Magra grabbed Caine by the throat, asserting that she was lying. The tension thickened as Caine toyed with her sister's emotions, but Magra warned her that on the day the child entered the world, she would take them from her, ensuring they'd never know their true mother. As the Trivantian soldiers continued their assault on the castle gate, Baba Voss gathered his troops, proclaiming that the day they had awaited for years had come, the day they would confront the army threatening everything they held dear. He urged them to face the Trivantians without fear, emphasizing that when the enemy entered, they would realize they were not up against a weak army, but a powerful one. He declared that all mountain warriors and witch-finders would unite to protect what was theirs at all costs. He proposed they open the gate and welcome the Trivantians into their hell. Ren reported to Edo Voss that the Payan soldiers had opened the gate. Without hesitation, one of Edo's soldiers stepped forward, only to be swiftly decapitated by Baba Voss's sword, signaling the commencement of the battle. In the chaos, Tamakti Jun also took action, silencing another enemy soldier. Driven by rage and determination, Kofun leapt into the fray, ready to fight for his family. As the Trivantian soldiers surged forward, Haniwa and her allies rained arrows upon them, taking out several foes before they could advance further. Amidst the chaos, the boy who had aided Edo Voss in capturing Baba Voss began issuing commands to his soldiers, sending them to attack the Payan soldiers. Baba Voss, swift and lethal, cut the ropes binding his warriors, freeing them to join the fight. The battlefield filled with the sounds of clashing swords, cries of warriors, and the thud of bodies hitting the ground. In a fit of rage, Edo Voss orders all his soldiers to attack the fortress. The Trivantian army, led by Edo Voss and Ren, launches a full-scale assault on the fortress, triggering an intense and explosive battle. Baba Voss, in collaboration with Tamakti Jun, executes a strategic move by cutting open barrels of oil and setting them ablaze, causing significant casualties among Edo Voss's soldiers. Angered, Edo Voss orders a direct assault on the fortress. As the battle intensifies, Toad is killed, and we discover that the fight is taking place on a thick layer of ice over a river. Baba Voss attempts to break this ice by tying ropes to rocks and pulling them down, causing large boulders to fall and shatter the ice. When Ren realizes the danger, she orders her soldiers to retreat. However, the ice breaks under their feet, and Ren is swallowed by the water. Edo Voss, witnessing the death of his men, retreats emotionally. In the midst of the chaos, Ren resurfaces from the water. Baba Voss, on the other hand, searches for his children and is relieved when Haniwa informs him that they have won the battle and Kofun is unharmed. Edo Voss challenges Baba Voss to a final duel. In an emotionally charged moment, Baba Voss tells Edo Voss that he doesn't want to kill him, but Edo Voss retorts that Baba Voss won't be able to kill him. They engage in a fierce fight, during which Baba Voss remarks that their father had tried and failed to defeat him. As Baba Voss raises his sword to strike, Edo Voss ambushes him, taking his sword. In the ensuing struggle, Baba Voss manages to defend himself and fatally wounds Edo Voss with his own sword. After Edo Voss dies, he speaks his final words, cursing their father and admitting that he had been a vile man. Ren, after sharing a kiss with Haniwa, leaves the battlefield, and everyone heads towards Payan. Upon arriving at Payan, Queen Magra greets them. That night, Baba Voss and Queen Magra share a quiet moment together. The next day, Queen Magra promotes Tamakti Jun to the position of High General of the Payan army and frees all the witchfinders from their duties. Meanwhile, Baba Voss quietly leaves the palace, and as he walks, Lord Harlan tries to stop him, but Baba Voss refuses to listen and walks away. We then see Yerlamarel's eldest son, Olaman, who, along with Edo Voss's scientists, successfully creates a bomb. Back at the palace, Caine experiences severe pain, and Paris checks on her, assuring her that the child is fine. However, Caine, in a fit of rage, kills Paris, declaring that no one will take her child from her, even if it means ending it herself. With the death of Paris, the second season of the series, C, comes to an end. However, the story isn't over yet, because Season 3 of C is coming very soon. So, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay updated.